judge, right?
Yep.
That still gives visibility, and especially once you're at the convention, any one of those people, delegates, right, is they're basically all equal once they show up there. Maybe the people who are the statewide at-large people are a little more prominent, but because they have to decide on their own structure for the convention once they get there, the delegates, they can decide anything, pretty much. Like, there's no person who's like, that person's the speaker. They'll probably vote for themselves or who knows what, right? You know, so people that you start seeing on TV at the convention could very easily then become the governor.
Here's another side question.
I
started streaming, so we can do the show, but here's another side question that's an interesting. I don't know the answer. A lot of things like this would be the biggest news if they happened, but the shit coming down from the feds is so much bigger that it overshadows it all. So it would be possible that the media would not cover the convention that much, which would even further minimize those outcomes.
Well, like what I was saying before, you were like, the convention's behind closed doors, and actually, right? It could be.
Well, the problem is a lot of the procedures are set that they are built behind closed doors.
No. There's no. The delegates decide it for themselves. They could decide to have a 100% closed convention that you never know anything that happens there.
Well, yeah, they could decide they're going to do American Gladiators internally to determine.
They could do that.
Now, if that was on the ballot, I would vote for that.
The only thing that would be public is that when the convention is done, they put these, proposals up. If any, they might do nothing. They might just have a convention, all get paid $70,000 a year each, and do nothing.
That wouldn't be 70 isn't enough in New York though. For upstate, that's money, but it's not money here.
That's just the salary of a delegate. That doesn't count money you get from bribes, and that doesn't count money that you can hire staff.
How much does it pay? Nothing. Oh, unless you're crooked.
Right.
I gotta post that clip
in the forum. If you're a delegate, you could just go collect money and go home. They could put up nothing on the ballot for anyone to vote on.
You'd be like the guy in that stand-up. Just be like, "Guns!" Just keep yelling it from the back until they kick you out.
But they could also decide to have a perfectly open convention.
Yeah.
They could decide to do whatever, like any procedure that they want. They just got to start making up rules from nothing.
All right, let's do the show because I'm starting to hunger now. Even though I ate like 3 of your cookies.
Too many cookies.
Yeah, it's not. I could eat one more cookie.
What's the actual name of this bonehead show?
The Ancient Magus Bride.
Okay.
Or Die Braut de Magiers.
What?
Olbabentia Church. It's Polish. I can't read that.
Okay.
Mahō Tsukai no Yome.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Magic user Mahō Tsukai.
Yep. What's Yome though?
I imagine bride.
Ooh, looky.
I mean. Bride of magic user, literally. That's what that translates to as far as I'm aware.
Look.
Look.
All
right. Oh, there's like 3 people watching.
Wow.
It's Wednesday, November 1st, 2017. It's no longer spooky. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we're actually reviewing an anime that's new. The Ancient Magus Bride. I don't have an opening bit. I got an opening bit. So you went to the Rangers game on Halloween, and it was weird that they won. That's good. But because I didn't go to that Rangers game, I was gonna throw a Halloween party, but the Rim who thought he wanted to throw a Halloween party is like from 6 months ago, and the Rim right now is just real tired of dealing with like 5 conventions I got to plan stuff for. And I've been busy and like laundry's piling up. So instead of doing a Halloween party, we had a few people over and we just watched Bette Midler in Hocus Pocus, which I have not seen since I saw it in the theater as a kid.
I don't even know what that is.
What?
I mean,
really?
I know who Bette Midler is, but I don't know what
So you realize Bette Midler played a really over-the-top witch in a Disney horror movie.
That sounds about right.
That aired in the 90s that I saw in the theaters.
I did not.
And I remembered more of this movie than my brain has any right to have remembered.
I mean, it's entirely possible. It's one of those things where if I see it, some dark memory that's buried will just emerge, but I never...
The only weird thing is that I remember there being way more songs in it because it was Bette Midler. But there's actually really only 1.5 songs in it. There's Bette Midler's big song, I'll Put a Spell on You, and then there's this other song that the other weird witch sings.
I think I know a song called I'll Put a Spell on You. That sounds familiar.
It's not a new song.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so we watched it again, and I'm probably just gonna do a Geek Bite review with Emily of it because we watched it again recently. And I think my strategy for Halloween parties forever is going to be watch a weird old Halloweeny thing. I also learned that
that's
this
usually
movie,
a good strategy, but you gotta watch some scary shit. And the
Well,
thing is, there's not a lot of scary shit these days.
Well, I feel like someday we'll just watch like one of the old classic slasher films.
And someone's gonna be like, oh, but Scott, here's all these great horror movies that came out, and I'm saying, yeah, there are plenty of horror movies that are, and some even great ones. I'm saying they're not fucking scary. Nothing is scary.
I would argue Get Out was scary. I found Get Out to be scary. What does it have to be scary? Does a knife have to actually come out of the screen and try to hit you?
I have to feel terror. Okay, imagine if
There's a difference between scary because it makes you feel terror versus scary in the sense that it shows the situation of other characters who are scared in a tense situation that causes you tension, if not necessarily direct fear.
Right, like if I'm in real life and say there's lava coming down from a volcano, now I'm afraid and I'm running, right? If I don't feel that way watching the movie, it's not scary.
That's real easy to fix. So next time we watch a slasher film, like on Halloween, I'll stand
The content of the movie has to be making me afraid, not some outside thing.
No, because I was about to say, all I have to do is stand behind you with a knife, and I may or may not just cut you a little bit.
I'm saying is that is something,
the
content of the movie has to be the thing causing the fear, not you with the knife.
I think that definition is dumb because that is not really feasible or possible.
There have been scary movies in the past.
Like what? Name one that's going to meet your modern definition.
I was scared of Alien when I was a kid.
Yeah, are you scared of it now?
No.
What would have to change to make you scared of it?
Make it scarier.
How? What mechanic will they use other than the jump scare or actually putting you in real physical danger?
Jump scare doesn't count because that gives me a feeling of surprise and not terror.
So what is a feeling of terror then?
The same feeling you have when you're standing at the bottom of a volcano and lava is coming at
That's
you.
That's not terror. That's
yes, it is.
No, that's resignation to death.
No, it's not. I'm running.
While I'm running, I still have a nihilistic resignation toward death as opposed to any particular terror.
Anyway.
I mean, I throw myself down mountains for fun. I'm not really afraid of stuff.
I'm not afraid of monsters.
I think your definition of what constitutes scary in the context of media is misguided. But I digress. Hocus Pocus. The things that are worth noting is that VFX, when this movie was made in the early 90s, pretty fucking bad.
Oh, yeah.
But they are a step above the VFX from the 80s.
Well, here's something I notice a lot is that when did Tron come out? The first Tron, 80 what? 2, 4, 2, 4, something.
I want to say it was 81, but I don't remember.
Right. And you look at the old Tron, and it's obviously...
82,
right?
82.
I was right. It's as old as us, right?
Yep.
And you look at the old Tron, and I'm not going to say it's good. Obviously, it's not good. You can see that it was made with really old 1982 computers. Right, with sad graphics, the kind of graphics that your home computer made in the early 90s.
But it's dated in a way to where it looks like something from its time, as opposed to weird.
And even though it is not good, right? When you look at computer graphics from movies in the 90s, pre-Toy Story, right? They're just awful. Even if you watched them when they were brand new. It wasn't until later, Toy Story, and then also even The Matrix, which, right, stuff like that, where the computer graphics in the movie got to a point that weren't bad.
I'm not talking about computer graphics. I'm talking more about the VFX, like just basic compositing and simple effects, like those kinds of things that are just in a movie. 80s all use like these same few techniques, and if you watch, I don't know, Howard the Duck or the He-Man live-action movie, they both use like this same palette.
Well, that's just because their budget was low, right?
Yep.
Star Wars didn't have those problems, and it's from the 70s.
Star Wars used primarily practical effects, however.
Lightsabers still look good.
They did look good, but the lot of practical effects or hand-done effects. But I digress. The
X-Wing still went pew pew pew.
The other crazy thing is we're watching the movie, and all we could think was everyone involved in this is still alive and still working. Hocus Pocus 2 with Bette Midler today would be fucking amazing.
So a lot
nostalgia trip. Guess what? Not only is that actually happening, and Disney is doing it, But Bette Midler was like, guys, stop trying to make this happen. I'm not going to be involved in this. It's shit.
So here's the same story, but the opposite. Because it's all Halloween-y lately, right? There's been talk again of...
oh, God, the article I clicked on randomly is about the remake.
Right.
Okay.
There has been talk of Beetlejuice because it's Halloween. So people talking about Beetlejuice because Beetlejuice is cool, right?
Scott, we have to do a Thursday show on Beetlejuice. I have a lot of very specific opinions about Beetlejuice.
Anyway, the thing is... There was a Beetlejuice sequel and this huge story behind it, and it could still happen.
No.
Like, Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder have been, like, sort of signed on to it since it began way, way, way back. It's called, like, Beetlejuice in Hawaii or something. And it's, like, still has life somehow, even after all those years. And it's not Bette Midler being like, no. It's like, they're like, yes, but it just hasn't come about.
So with Beetlejuice, we'll get into anime in a second, but I noticed something in the course
We're
of my
talking
life.
more about Halloween shit after Halloween.
It's the day after Halloween. What do you want? It's also the 12th anniversary of GeekNights last night.
Sure.
We've been doing this for 12 goddamn years.
Too many years.
1,180 episodes.
I quit. I go home. I'm done.
Finally, my time is here. My soul. I'll just get the other Scott. I got like 3 Scotts. I'll just bring one of them in. I forced Scott Prime to do at least 1 or 2 podcasts in the past, and I can train him. It'll take a while though. But Beetlejuice the movie, contrary to every spin-off and related merchandise, everything that wasn't the actual movie that it was ever made, they all treat it like Beetlejuice is the hero, but in the movie, Beetlejuice is the goddamn villain.
Beetlejuice is only in like 20% of the movie.
Yeah, but he is the villain, really. He's just this villain and he's there, and the moral of the movie is don't fucking talk to that guy. He's the worst. He will ruin everything, and he's dumb. Also kind of annoying.
Yes, he's just a bad dude.
Yeah, but
they went to go. It's a Faustian tale. They went to make a deal with the devil, and then he was like, hey. And then they beat him, and they put him back, and they undid the deal.
Well, they went to do with the devil's bureaucracy, and that was too hard. So then they went and talked to this like low tier like shit devil, and he made the shit that they expect. Like, what did you expect? But there was a cartoon, and that cartoon was just like Beetlejuice and Daria going on adventures together. Like all that weird stuff.
Now I know that Lydia is very goth and similar in character to Daria.
Yeah.
But she is not
Daria. As it came
Daria.
out of my mouth, my brain was like, nope. Try again.
You are wrong.
So anyway, the biggest anime news that we probably haven't talked about is this Funimation thing, which I haven't paid a lot of attention to.
So it's one of those situations that's a news, but it's not a news yet, right? So Funimation is the #1 anime distributor in the United States, as far as I'm aware, possibly North America. I don't know if they do Canada or whatever, but...
And from a anime fan, like anime consumer perspective, they're doing a pretty great job.
They're doing all right. They're doing better than the previous ones that all failed, like Genion and whoever. And a lot of those old companies were sort of, I guess, absorbed into Fun. I don't know what happened really back then, but basically, of all the ashes of all those companies that were trying to bring anime to the U.S., it's pretty much now just like Funimation is the king, right? They get the licenses they want, and they bring out those shows in the U.S., and they're on Crunchyroll, and they're on Funimation.
The prince at this point is Netflix, who are just like, we're just going to make our own anime.
Yeah.
We're making like 30.
Amazon.
In Japan.
You got these other players in there, the Crunchyrolls, the Amazons, whatever, but it's mostly Funimation. So, Funimation now, it's a private company. It's not public. You can't buy shares in it. Has been a majority of it is now owned by Sony, PlayStation Sony.
That is
A7S camera Sony, TV Bravia Sony.
Anything involving Sony is fraught with ridiculous contradictions for the simple fact that different parts of Sony actually want very different things and often sabotage each other.
And they often operate independently, but also not independently.
Like Sony's,
the only thing a lot of them have in common is the name Sony, and that they're all under the umbrella of Big Sony in Japan.
But like Sony's prosumer video stuff is pretty great, but it's hobbled often by Sony's entertainment side that wants ridiculous DRM and nonsense and that kind of thing.
Yeah, even the PSP was hobbled by like the computer department forcing it to use memory sticks. It's like, stuff like that. Anyway, so as of now, Sony owns a majority of Funimation. The CEO of Funimation previously, what's his name? Guy Fukunaga or something?
I don't even remember.
It's this name you see a lot if you pay attention to anime news in the U.S. I don't know what the person is like though.
old GeekNights, we would have known.
They still, they still own some amount of Funimation, but obviously not enough to boss.
So according to this, they own at most 5% now.
Yeah, something a CEO owns, right? A CEO owns shares. That's how CEOs work.
Funimation was only valued at $150 million.
Yeah, but it's not that big. They're just because think about it. Their profits are not huge. They're paying to license animes. They're not getting that right. They're paying a lot of money in license fees and then streaming it and selling merch and shit like that to try to make back the license fees profit, and then they send most of the money, the revenue, right back to the license to Japan. How much money does Funimation keep? How many people even work there? It's probably like a small little company in California somewhere.
The listener says, Genya Fukunaga.
Yeah, anyway. So, right, as of now, the CEO is still the CEO. All their licenses are the same. All their releases are untouched, right? Everything they're doing for the near future is unchanged. But if I know what I know, anytime ever in the history of ever that a company has been bought by another company, shit changes eventually, right? They always say, oh, business as usual, and then ain't gonna be business as usual. So the changes that Sony brings to Funimation are going to have a huge impact on anime legally released in the United States, but you won't see that impact for a year or plus-ish. Around a year, at least minimum, or maybe a little less, maybe a little more.
It's interesting, though, that this is also happening at a time when the distribution side, like how people actually watch anime, is having a pretty increasingly large splintering to where there isn't just one place you can watch all your anime.
Mm-hmm.
And on one hand, I was very happy when it was Crunchyroll or bust because that was just easy. I could see a lot of anime. I'm basically not willing to pay for multiple services.
Nope. I pay for one at a time. That's my rule.
Yep. So in the same area. So I pay for Netflix and Crunchyroll because I watch a lot of Netflix stuff.
Right now I'm paying for Hulu and Crunchyroll, but as soon as the next Yo-Pedal season is done, unless there's a new anime to watch, I'll temporarily turn my Crunchyroll off.
Careful
again.
though, because we're gonna review a lot more anime on GeekNights. I keep picking Crunchyroll shows.
No,
but if you switch to Netflix, I'll just pick a show that I know is on Netflix.
Right, and then once South Park is over, I'm gonna switch from Hulu to Netflix and watch some Witches and some other stuff.
Oh yeah, you haven't seen Witches.
I don't have Netflix.
Scott, it saved anime. It's so good.
Trigger saved anime a long time ago.
Yeah, but it saved anime again. It scratched that itch I had from Mahō Tsukai so back in the day. My brain was just like, what's this drug? It's back. And then it ended, and I was like,
I've seen the Little Witch Academia movies. Did we actually do the episode on that second movie?
No, we didn't.
Oh, well, I've seen it.
Oh, yeah. I could watch that again.
We could do an episode at any time.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, just like when Disney bought Marvel, right?
Yep.
You didn't see changes for a while, but now you fucking do, right? So same deal.
Yep. So we don't know if it'll be good or bad. I worry the changes will be negative, partly because I don't necessarily trust.
I can't see them being positive.
Yeah, that Sony will.
They're going to be neutral at best.
Yeah, like I see them doing shady stuff around exclusive streaming deals and weird nonsense.
Oh, you want to watch anime, son? Get yourself a PlayStation 4.
Yeah. PlayStation exclusive for the first month on the simulcast?
Who knows?
Doesn't matter. I'm not even going to lie. If I try to pay for anime, and I do pay, like I pay for Crunchyroll and stuff, and I even paid for the Funimation thing for a while, back to watch like Yurikuma and stuff back in the day. God, back in the day, that wasn't that long ago.
No.
But in all media, the moment I encounter resistance where figuring out how to click on buttons and pay money to watch something is even remotely challenging, I just immediately I pirate so fast I can't even blink.
Oh, yeah. That's how I do.
So it's kind of an aside, but in the other news, that's not really new news about anime, but it's a topic that I feel like we could do a deeper show on in the future because it's starting to actually affect a lot of anime fans now. So when our friends brought Hocus Pocus over to watch it, they brought it on a DVD.
Yeah, I had the same problem recently as I needed to show Porco Rosso to Amanda, who hadn't seen it, one of the Ghibli movies she had not seen.
Better to be a pig than a fascist.
That's right. And I was like, whoa, I actually happen to have the DVD of that and a bonus DVD that came with it, right?
Hey, remember, I got like 8 DVDs of Beautiful Dreamer.
So I found the DVD. I had it in my binder of DVDs, and I went over to the HTPC, the new one that has no optical drive to speak of, and I said, oh, right.
Yep.
But my desktop still had an optical drive, so I used Handbrake. I ripped it. I transferred it. We watched a nice MP4. It was all good. But I thought, maybe what I should do, since I am planning to buy a computer maybe next year sometime when NVIDIA 1180s come out, right? I'm not saying I'll buy an 1180, but I'll buy an 11 something, right? Presumably. Maybe I should buy myself a USB 3 optical drive now and just have it and then never have to buy another optical drive again as long as I live.
That is what I did because actually my
Does it play Blu-ray?
No. Why would I ever have Blu-ray?
Well, see, the thing is I never planned to ever buy a Blu-ray in my life. And I've managed to not do that up to this point, so I see no reason that would ever change.
Yep.
But there are occasions where you just come across a free Blu-ray. It's just lying around, or someone else has one. And or external Blu-ray drive that I know it's Blu-ray. I'm saying Blu-ray because that's how I say it. The same reason I say Titan, even though I know it's pronounced Titan. They're not really any significantly more expensive or different than any optical drive that doesn't do Blu-ray. So I was like, oh, well, why not get the Blu-ray one for that one day that someone's going to bring a Blu-ray to your house? You can watch it.
Thing is, I could probably just pirate whatever it is that they ostensibly have on that Blu-ray faster than I could get the Blu-ray.
Maybe someone's got some data backed up on a Blu-ray because they have a Blu-ray writer or something. Or
you didn't also put it on the cloud. Sorry, kid.
It does to pay the $10 extra or whoever small amount it is to get the slightly better.
All right, Scott, you want to? I will gladly sell you my old zip drive because someone might bring a zip disk over.
What if? What if it's like apocalypse times and the important data is on the zip disk, and then I go in, I pull out my zip drive, and I'm like, the world is saved, bitches.
The problem is zip drives fail and zip disks fail.
Why do you think I got my Apple II GS in the closet? Gonna save the world with that motherfucker.
But
there's no Intel management in there.
In the old days, the only way to see anime was to pirate it. Well, the oldest days, I'm skipping. Mm-hmm. The old days, as far as most of you are concerned, is you either bought the DVD,
you saw it in the theater in Japan,
or you pirated it.
Japanese TV in the 60s.
But nowadays, pretty much we all just stream our anime, which is fine because I prefer streaming for almost all use cases, and I generally don't buy physical media, and I never have. The exception to that is I would buy physical media before digital media really existed for things that I did not only watch, but I had already seen in their entirety that I thought were important for some reason, and that I expected to not only rewatch periodically for the rest of my life,
but give to other people to watch.
Yes, to show to other people. Like I will to this day be like, oh, you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop? Take this. Come back to me after this weekend and tell me what you think.
Yep.
And now that physical media is stupid and I don't want all that space being wasted in my apartment, I don't really have any way to own anime because I'm certainly not buying physical media the way it's structured today.
And no one's going to sell you a DRM-free MP4.
And the other important thing is, even if I wanted to buy physical media, I'm not going to buy physical media until I watch a show and I'm confident that that show is going to be a classic for all time.
And I'm also not worried about,
by the time I make that determination, it's usually out of print again.
I'm also not worried about preservation because, A, everything that I thought would be like, oh, you'll never be able to get this has come back eventually.
Dude, I went on YouTube and watched the Garfield Halloween special last night.
In college, I want to watch that. In college, I pre-ordered this Macross box set from Animago, right, for like almost $300 of college money, which is a lot, right, considering you're a poor college student. I still have it. It's still great. I'm still glad I bought it. But now you can just watch the real Macross, not Robotech, like on Amazon Prime streaming with subtitles.
Yep.
So, you know.
Now, I don't want physical media, and I'm not even afraid of DRM. The problem is streaming services, stuff falls out of rotation, then it's gone. Can't watch it unless you pirate it.
Well, you know, it comes back eventually. And
sometimes, some things don't.
You know, the other reason you don't have to worry about preserving is because there's some other nerd out there who's preserving it, right?
Yep.
It will always be accessible if you can find that one nerd. That nerd doesn't have to be me. I got better things to do with my short life on this earth.
Now, the other reason I would have bought physical media was sometimes I want to do a review thing, like with Utena, and I want to use that media to make other media, which is a pain in the ass to do through a streaming service. So I just have to pirate that nowadays. But there is still the use case where there is a show that I decide is something I'm going to show to other people for a long time to come, and I want to have a file, permanent access to it of some kind. What I really want is actually just a DRM-free file that I can pay money for. I'll even pay good money for it and just download it. And that doesn't exist. I've been doing that with Amazon for certain shows. I've been buying Steven Universe and Adventure Time instead of streaming
I
it.
thought about, see, the thing is, when you told me you did that, I was like, first, I didn't realize they had that. They have like the newest episodes of Adventure Time on there.
Yeah, like
they're up to speed with what like is someone watching on Cartoon Network.
So episodes on TV, it's on Amazon within like a day.
Right, so that is really tempting. But how much does a season of Adventure Time cost on there?
$10 to $20.
Okay, so how many seasons are there?
The number of actual seasons times 2 because they split them usually. So it costs about as much as an old anime box set to buy a many seasons long. It costs about the same as anime.
Right, but it's like compared to the price it would cost to like just subscribe to a thing and keep watching them. But they don't offer it on the Prime subscription thing.
Yep.
It's just like, but it's just so much money that it's like it's not worth it. But I do want to have access to those episodes.
Yep, but
with the convenience.
But anime, for example, can't rely on that kind of
Can you
purchasing.
just give me those episodes so I don't have to buy them?
I'd have to pirate them from my service because I can only watch them on the Amazon thing. But it does just work. Like, it's great.
I'm sure it does just work. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do trust it won't go away. I trust it as much as I trust Steam.
Yeah, there was a recent poll of like which of the big tech companies do you trust the most, and Amazon was like #1 in all categories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't want to go down.
Not
too
to
down the
Amazon
road.
say Amazon's not evil. They're just evil in such a way that it punishes other businesses that aren't Amazon and is great for customers, which is why people love Amazon. Even though they're just as evil as everyone else, the difference is Facebook punishes users, right? Twitter punishes users, Google punishes users.
But I guess
Amazon only punishes other businesses by putting them out of business.
I still think physical media is stupid because physical media is just digital media locked onto a format for no good reason. I'd rather just get a file.
Even if I had the Blu-ray drive and I was willing to buy Blu-rays, I would just rip them all and throw them out.
Yep.
Or sell them or bring them to book off or who knows what.
So,
just like we did back in high school with PlayStation games.
Yep.
You'd copy them to another CDR and then you'd bring them back.
Put your
you'd
16
return it,
mod chip.
go to Blockbuster, rent the game, copy it, bring it back.
So, these fracturing of all these different streaming services coupled with all the different ways to get media, the problem is growing again rather than shrinking, which I think is going to drive a lot of people like me back to the high seas.
Yarr.
And that's all I got to say about that because it's time for... Oh, there's like 13 people watching, and there's a whole chat going on in here.
Sad people.
You know, Skojo points out the news we're not talking about. Legend of the Galactic Heroes is getting a live action.
Who cares? There's live actions all the time and they all suck.
Also, they're pointing out there's one Disney saved Star Wars and Marvel.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
The point is that there were changes, right?
I know.
Is that when they originally bought Marvel, there were no changes, and then eventually changes.
Yep.
Right? They said, "Oh, no changes for now. We just bought them. That's the only news."
Frankly,
then like a year later, oh, now it's Disney, Star Wars, Marvel.
If Disney had bought Funimation, I'd expect a better chance of positive changes. Sony buying, I expect a better chance of negative changes. But it's not 100%. We don't know. These articles are light on the details. Anyway. Things of the day. So if you don't follow it, which actually not that many people subscribe to this channel, and again, I got to be very clear, I am not saying that you should watch the original He-Man again in any capacity.
No.
I made that mistake, and I learned my
He-Man is a
lesson.
thing I watched when I was extremely young and had almost no memories of it other than like vague images of and mostly toys more than the show because the show, didn't air for that.
I had
like,
Battle Damage Skeletor.
Like,
Battle
there was a
Damage
point in
He-Man.
my life where I must have been like 5 or 6 and wanted to watch He-Man because I had He-Man toys and it just was not on TV anymore and I couldn't see it. And it's not like you could, was I going to buy VHS tapes of He-Man? Like, that was, this like, it wasn't a thing. You couldn't do that.
But way more interesting.
It wasn't until we were in college they put out like Transformers on DVD and I was like, whoa, I can actually see that now.
Way more interesting than actually watching episodes of He-Man is learning about all the meta around the production of He-Man itself and the character.
Yeah, didn't I do a thing of the day about that? No, I did Thunder the Barbarian.
Yeah, you did.
One, yeah.
So the official, like for real official He-Man YouTube account, which has less than 100,000 subscribers, and these videos have fewer views than a lot of our PAX lectures. So you should probably subscribe to this. The content there is pretty good and fascinating. So what I'm linking to here is a pretty long video. It's like 10 minutes long, and it's just 50 interesting things about Evil Lyn. And if you don't remember who Evil Lyn was,
Nope. I remember. Like, that's the thing is. The most positive thing about He-Man, at least for me, is the character design. You know, all these crazy characters because they're trying to make all these toys.
that eyeball
And
guy.
if I see a character, I go, "That's a He-Man character." And unless it's He-Man or Skeletor or She-Ra or something or Orko, I don't know their name. I'm like, "Who the hell is that?" You could have showed me that character, and I'd say, "That's that evil lady from He-Man." I don't know. I didn't know she was evil until just now. And I also couldn't tell you the plot of any episode.
I vaguely remember the plot of some of these episodes. But anyway, this video is just kind of fascinating. And if you watched He-Man as a child and don't remember much about it,
don't go ruin your positive memories by going to see this show that's awful.
But this video will probably trigger a lot of weird flashbacks, and you'll realize you remember more than you thought.
Nope, I definitely don't.
You don't remember the space battleship?
No.
You don't remember Evil Lyn teaming up with the sorceress woman and Skeletor?
No.
Yeah.
I don't.
So what do you got?
So, these days in the hockey times, there's not as many fights as there used to be, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because fighting is barbaric and bad, and we don't want to see that. We want to see hockey. I went to a hockey game last night. There were no fights. It was still exciting as hell. We don't need fights in hockey. I'm glad that there are less of them, and there should be none of them.
No, it's perverse, but I am also glad that it did exist at some point because I do enjoy hockey fights.
Well, I mean, if it never existed, that would have been fine too.
True.
But you can't lie. I enjoy watching a nice hockey fight.
But many
there's
hockey
already
fights have happened.
there are already been so many hockey fights, and I can already re-enjoy them thanks to the magic of video.
Right.
That we don't need any more. There's already enough that I can get all the enjoyment from hockey fights that I need for my whole life by watching the ones that have already happened. And today I've discovered one that is better maybe than most I have seen. Top 5 maybe. So this is not in the NHL, it's in the ECHL between a hockey team from
Tallahassee Tiger Sharks.
Tallahassee, which is where?
Versus the Louisiana Ice Gators.
So these are southern United States hockey teams, well below the Messier line, where hockey does not belong. In 1998, in February, so this was winter.
98 is pretty much like this is near the peak of like the last era of this kind of fighting.
Right, and even though this is a minor league hockey game, it was apparently being broadcast and commentated. And whoa, this is some brawl they had here. Ooh, baby.
Now, frankly, even as a kid, like minor league hockey had way bigger fights than real hockey.
It's still true today. Like, every time I go to a minor league hockey game, there's always a fight.
The majority of the Detroit Falcons games I ever went to as a kid had a bench clearing brawl that's halted the game.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the full real majority of the games I ever saw cleared the benches. The best part about this video is the announcers.
It's really weird, right? Because when you get to hockey that's super unprofessional, like if you go to the roller hockey down at where I was taking photos, you'll never see a fight there because the cops will come. The cops are actually standing there the whole time. I don't think they were looking for fights, but you know. The point is, NYPD will come and you'll be guilty of assault.
They were looking for offsides.
Sure. And in super professional hockey, at the top levels, you see less fighting because people are making $1 zillion and they don't need a broken face or a broken leg, right? But in the in-between hockey...
It's all Happy Gilmore.
Oh, baby.
So in the meta moment, the book club book was the 5th season. We did the episode.
Did you choose a new book club book? Yeah.
Nope. I'm going to wait until I finish the entire trilogy of the Broken Earth or whatever, the rest of the books from the 5th season, because I had just finished the second one, and it's pretty good.
All right.
Thoughts?
This weekend, November 4th and 5th, Gamer X East is happening.
LGBT-focused gaming convention. You do not have to be LGBT or any other
You just have to be in New York and like games and show up and probably not a homophobe. Homophobes probably the only people who shouldn't be there.
And it's a pretty great con. It's very well organized. We're going to be doing our Writing Game Rules lecture on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. in Panels B. The only notable thing about this lecture, because this is a talk we've given before for the most part, is that because of the nature of this con, relatively small
I'm trying to do this
rooms,
meta moment fast because their meta moment's getting too big.
Okay. We're going to actually take questions.
Whoa.
We normally don't do that, so that is the only reason to attend if you're already listening to the show.
On September 17th, 18th, 19th, PAX Unplugged. Oh my God, we're doing a Carcassonne thing.
On Saturday, also at 3:30 p.m., we're doing the Carcassonne thing. It's weird. Parallel.
Weird. Okay. Next on the calendar after that. Oh, I should also mention that this weekend, in addition to Gamer X, is also BlizzCon is Friday and Saturday, and the Netrunner World Championships are Saturday and Sunday. So if you're sitting at home and can't go to any conventions, you can enjoy lots of gaming goodness on your Twitch TV.
Yep.
Next month. Nothing, because that's December. Just it's holidays.
And then we got MagFest. We got PAX South.
January of next year, MagFest PAX South, 1-2-1-2. First week of the month, second week of January. It's just all con all the time. Oh my God.
It's going to be great. It's going to be glorious.
And of course, if you can't do any of these things because you're really sad, follow us on all the places on the internet that exist. We got multiple YouTube channels, Instagram. You can find all these things. Just if you have any brain and know how to use Google, you can find it if you want to. We are the most public you can be on the internet, and you can follow all of our activities.
I'm not as public as what's his name in Aeon Flux.
If you're already so sad that you're listening to Geek Nights and you're hearing my voice right now, then you might as well just, be even sadder.
So, a nice segue from the meta into our review of an anime. Shock, it's been a while. The Ancient Magus Bride. Part of the reason why we're doing this show and reviewing it is that, as you might have noticed on Scott's YouTube channel, we have taken the old Anime Boston thing where we would review the upcoming season of anime before it came out, based solely on an image and maybe a paragraph at most. And we're pretty much always right about these shows. So to put our money where our mouth is, we're going to try to review a lot of the shows that we already reviewed on that video by actually watching them and seeing if we were right.
So don't remind me what we said about this show. Let's talk about the show and then remind me what we said about it.
So the Ancient
So it doesn't
Magus
taint
Bride.
my, I don't taint it to agree with myself.
Mahō Tsukai no Yome, which if you've seen Mahō Tsukai Tai, you can figure out what all those words mean and how they line up. It literally is the bride of the Ancient Magus, or mage, or magic user.
Yes.
And it is the story of a super tall mage who, for some reason, has replaced his head with a deer skull.
Or always had a deer skull head.
We
That's
don't
just
know.
what he looks like.
We don't really know.
Yeah, at one point, he does cover it up with like a sheet.
Yep.
So I guess
he also uses that magic to hide it from muggles when he's out.
Right.
Like,
it's a human body with a deer skull for a head.
It's the Skeletor model.
But otherwise,
buff body, skeleton head.
Yes, but otherwise he acts like a nice professor, very powerful and wise mage who obviously has a lot of secrets and possibly evil ones in his past.
Meanwhile, there's this girl who has sold herself into slavery for reasons.
Right, so basically in the first episode, it's really structured quite strangely, is that they show you the present and introduce these characters, but they don't really introduce them, they just sort of show them, right? Like, this is the living situation. She lives in a house with this wizard guy and this other thing and this servant-ish person who's cooking.
Clearly a fairy.
And this dude who turns into a dog, or dog who turns into a dude.
Oh, yeah.
Right, who seemed cool, but you don't know anything about him. Anyway, and then that episode, and I guess also the second episode, basically are just a flashback to show you like her early life. It doesn't actually show you how she ended up in this situation. It just shows you like her origin story of like, going from orphan to entering the world of magicness.
So the show itself, we watch a bunch of episodes, so we can review this the way we typically review
I've seen
anime.
until this episode where they go to the Dragonland, which is maybe 3, I think, or 4, maybe at most.
On one hand,
I think it's 3.
It's, if you describe the plot naively, it has a few warning signs in the sense of this mage buys a woman out of slavery
A very young, clearly less than 18-year-old girl.
15.
Okay.
To be his wife.
Yeah, the wife is in the title of the show, but I've not seen any wife activity in the show.
What? He said, I want you to be my wife someday. He says this to her like 10 times.
I don't remember that.
We just watched it.
I don't remember that part.
Okay.
Okay, anyway.
So, that aside, while that is in the show, it does not go in the direction that might imply. It's more like a slice of life show about really inhuman beings interacting with each other in parallel to humans in a world where magic is slowly dying. Which is very similar, actually, to the world of Little Witch Academia.
There's also a conflict going on between apparently some evil magic and some good and some not evil magic.
But it's not really clear what all that is. The show...
It's very mysterious. Like there's like a dark blobby thing that's, obviously evil, attacking some nice library and, messing with shit, right?
Well, I guess what you learn about the world, you learn from the mage the same way that this girl learns it.
Yep.
And a lot of the episodes just seem to introduce over time all these various fantastic, like fairies and dragons and other mages and other beings, and you're not really sure what their deal is. And you sort of just see them all interacting and stuff playing out. And the thing I think it does very well, that I'm very pleased with, because this is something that Eccentric Family did even better, is there are inhuman characters who clearly have inhuman sensibilities and do not act like humans. The fairies are appropriately dangerous in the way that a fairy would be expected to be based on the actual fiction about fairies.
Yeah, the dragons are dragony, right?
Yep.
The super old dragon keeping guy, he's a super old dragon keeping guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
He reeks a little bit of the kind of character I would play in a D&D game, though.
Yes. Yes, he is.
Everyone has pointed that out.
The only real negative thing I want to say about the show is that is kind of slow, right?
Yeah, it has a little bit of that slice of life feel. Like, we're going to go to the land of the dragons, and it seems like, there's going to be a big
The thing is, it's not that it's slow and then nothing happens, right? It's like I watched one episode, and I learned about dragons, and a plot happened, and the plot concluded, and it's like a thing happened, right? It's just that you'll get these shots, and some people could see this as a positive, but I don't, where... I see it as a positive actually when it occurs in anime movies where you get a lot shots where it's just like, all right, look, it's a picture of the Dragonland and we're panning across a landscape and listening to noises and some dragons are flying over, right? And it's like you're just watching like scenery and setting a mood, right? And that you stay in that on those sorts of shots for like a good 10, 20 seconds, something like that, right? And in anime movies, those shots are great. You got to open your movie with those, right?
Yep.
I love an Evangelion, like they'll have those
the elevator scene.
Shit, like, well, no, the ones that I always remember from Evangelion are the ones...
outside shot, and you hear the crickets.
Yes, the crickets, they're cicadas.
Yeah.
But they show the outside the school in the summer, and you hear cicadas for a good, 5 seconds, and then they cut inside the school or inside the apartment, right, after that, right? It's like, this show is loaded with shots like that, where it just... Things are physically moving slowly. They're showing you things happening second by second and creating these, where the plot is not advancing and you're sitting there watching.
But ostensibly, atmosphere is being created.
Right. You're watching for like a good 20 seconds to a minute and no one says anything, no one does anything. And that happens a lot. So, the first 2 episodes could have been done in one episode if you cut out some of those scenes, right? And that...
But I guess... Atmosphere, that kind of atmospheric setting is very common in anime. And
it is. But I think in this show, it is common in anime. I expect it and like it. But in this show, it was to the extent where I felt it, dragging a little bit.
Well, because in this show, unlike, say, Eccentric Family, which does very similar things, I compare these 2 shows a lot because there's a lot of interesting comparisons to make.
Eccentric Family has the fun characters. This show does not have any characters that I really liked other than the old dragon guy.
Yeah. Well, I guess what
not the dragon person, the actual dragon.
When Eccentric Family wanted, or other great anime that I never feel bored in any second watching them, even when they have atmospheric setup shots like that, the atmosphere ties into the allegory or the story of the episode very neatly, or there's some sort of very nice interconnected artistry to it. In this show, it almost feels like we need atmosphere. Here it is, but it doesn't tie into any sort of overarching real story relation or allegory or it doesn't intertwine.
Those shots in Evangelion with the cicadas are reminding you that it's summer, reminding you that there's nobody left here.
Yep.
Right? They're they have a purpose if you see it, right? The ones in this show don't really have a purpose. They're just sort of you're just sort of wait, you're just all right, now she's walking towards the library. Can we get to the library already?
No, I think part of that is that as interesting as the show is, because again, I like it. I'm not saying it's a bad show. It definitely feels very shallow in that the themes that are being explored, the stories, everything, doesn't feel like there's that much under them.
No, it's pretty much just like, okay, what's the
Like,
mystery?
we went to the Dragon Land. Oh, here's the dragon life cycle.
Yep.
And now we're leaving.
Yep.
And that's kind of it. So you get this very long atmospheric scene with this feeling of pathos and understanding for this old dragon and the life cycle. But at the same time, you just met all these characters, and it's a throwaway
It also
episode.
created a Chekhov's gun where he's like, oh, you're going to make a branch from me. You're going to take one of my branches to make a magic wand one day. And you know that in some later episode, she's going to come back and make the wand and use it to solve something.
Yep. But because these dragons were all introduced in this episode, and then I'm leaving them in this episode, I didn't really have any real investment in the life cycle that was repeatedly telegraphed by those child dragons and just really shallow and kind of ham-fisted.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really the main problem is that I just don't like or care about any of the characters. I actually cared more about that story where when she was an orphan and the parents broke up because she was like draining on their family and that mom was all upset. Like,
I think something much more tragic happened there that we haven't learned yet.
No, I'm pretty sure it's just the problems between those two parents were exacerbated and revealed by them having to actually, deal with this problem that they encountered.
I suspect
and then we'll
there's
never
more
see
to it than
see
that.
those parents and kids again in this anime.
I suspect we'll see more in flashbacks of that.
I think we'll see them again. But the point is, I care about them more than I care about the main girl.
Well, I guess that's
the
the other
guy
problem.
with the guy with the skull head. Like this terrible secret of space. Like, why does he have a skull head?
The main girl.
But it's like I don't care that much. I'm like every anime has this terrible secret of space like that.
The main girl has no real personality, and her only defining characteristics are she's the super powerful thing that we're gonna have a proper noun for.
Yep.
And her past is tragedy.
Yep.
And
there are some characters who seem like they cool and might have a good personality, like the dragon keeping guy and the guy who turns into a dog, or a dog who turns into a guy. I can't tell what the default form is.
Well,
but
where dog or dog where?
I don't know, but it's like all they do is show you them for like a few seconds. They don't really give them the serious attention to make you like them or give you any info. I'm sure they'll get their episodes, but it's like you look at some other anime that has a cast of characters and they introduce a lot more characters a lot sooner and actually introduce them.
Yep. But that's it. It moves slow. It has a lot of slice of life elements, and the actual world building and character development are both actually pretty shallow, and they don't feel like they're all tying together into a deeper, overarching allegorical narrative.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be a very direct, non-allegorical narrative.
Yeah, it's like usually my gut feeling is that when you have a terrible secret of space thing, right? Why does he have a skull head? What's the deal? And if it's going to be revealed well and you're actually going to march on this plot, that you'll have episodes that march on the plot, right?
Well,
when you get these slice of life episodes, it feels to me like it's going to be one of those not actually ending, you're never going to learn anything, right?
Well, partly
all
because
of that is just backdrop.
Because Cowboy Bebop has a lot of slice of life type episodes, but a big difference too is that those episodes, the plot didn't advance, but the characters did.
You also care about those characters.
Well, partly because the characters change even if the
if
world
you care
doesn't.
about the characters, you don't need to know what the terrible secret of space
But in this
is.
show, the characters don't really change in any deep way, at least not quickly, nor does the world change. You're just getting a reveal of, here's the deal with this world.
Mm-hmm.
But that aside, the animation is great. The show is beautiful. The soundtrack's good. The opening theme's good. I like the opening theme. It reminds me of some older anime.
I like the opening and closing animations.
Yeah.
I don't like the song is just sort of like a la 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 kind of song.
I like the opening song.
It's not something I'm gonna jam to.
Well, no, I mean, if you want to jam, you got to watch Gundam Seed.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm going to keep watching it for a while, and it's only 12 episodes, I think, so I can finish it.
You tell me if you find out why he has a skull head, and then tell me why he has a skull head, and I'm gonna watch something else.
I'll keep watching until I get bored.
It's not a bad show. It's not a show that I'm gonna spend my time
Well, you know
on
what it is?
when I got other stuff I could be doing.
It uses these scenes that are clearly meant to set an atmosphere and then make you feel a very strong emotion about something that's happening, but that strong emotion is not deserved by the show for what it has shown you up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So it acts like this is a very important moment and this is very somber and you should feel this, but you don't feel it intrinsically because they're telling you to feel it and showing you a thing as opposed to making you feel it through the actual evolution of character and story. That's pretty much the harshest thing I can say about a show that I still kind of like all right.
Yeah, I mean, compare the way they basically literally tell you what the dragon's deal is, and the dragon talks and says what his deal is.
I've never been a fan of,
right.
Here's the thing, what's the deal? Deal is explained, end of episode.
That dragon is really similar to, for example, the robots from Laputa. Now compare how you feel about robots from Laputa to this dragon guy. Right?
So
the robots from Laputa that don't even talk.
Because I've seen both Nausicaa and Laputa in the theater very recently, I have some that's a very good point to make about those robots, because the robots in Laputa get very little actual screen time.
Oh yeah, almost none.
Their origins are not explained in any explicit way.
Explicit enough.
No. So the beauty of Laputa is that the characters are pretty unnoteworthy. Like, they're just sort of all there to set the world. The entire movie...
What about the cool pirate?
The entire movie is this beautiful case study in environmental storytelling. You just... The places the characters visit, the things that are in the world around them, tell this epic story of the rise and fall of civilizations and technology over the endless ages. And the story of those individual characters is almost just a way to experience that. And the robots have a very complex implied story, but no character says, these robots were made for X, and this is why Y happened. But Ancient Magus Bride, it is literally, dragons work like this. And this is why this dragon is turning into a tree. So, yeah, I'll keep watching for a while.
It just happened. He turned into a tree while you were here. Aren't you lucky?
Well, I mean, isn't that the Galaxy Express of every planet you're getting to is having its existential crisis just at the moment that the train arrived?
Well, a lot of times it's the existential crisis is not something that's on the planet. It's oftentimes it's a small, like, it's not something that's a planet-wide thing. It'd be like, oh, they encounter a character who's crying in the street, and that's... it's a small crisis that they encounter. Or them coming is the catalyst for the crisis.
That is also true.
They showed up on the planet, therefore, trouble.
So yeah, it's all right. I enjoy it okay.
If if you're the kind of person who watches animes that aren't A+ animes, then watch this one because it's probably better than most of the other ones.
Also, a lot of people are talking about it, so watch at least 1 or 2 episodes so you'll know what they're talking about.
It's not something you need to go run out and watch.
The manga's been recommended to me a lot for a while, so that was part of why
I get a feeling that a manga would give you more, plus you could read it a lot faster.
Yeah, but the animation and the color and everything is really great in the anime.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to look at.
The monster, like the dragons and the fairies, are just really well animated and cool.
Feast for them eyeballs, especially like the library scenes and stuff.
All right. That's a show.
What did we say about it?
What do you mean, what did we say? We talked about the show?
When we reviewed the thing on
I'd have to watch it. I guess I could take the audio of that. I'll stick the audio of that into the end of this. That's what I'll do. I'll do a little bit, and I'll be like, so here's what we actually said.